Hello, and welcome to our on-demand demo series of our Banking and Treasury Automation solution for Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O. In this video, we will demonstrate the module Payment Factory Automation. This module is part of our standard bundle TAS Lite, but can also be licensed individually. This module will take your vendor payments process to the next level of automation. It will help you auto-create vendor e-banking records. The TAS payment switchboard will automatically select the optimal bank account to make your payments from. And you can create payment calendars to automatically generate payment proposals for you across all your companies in your D365 F&O ERP system. Now let's explore the module in Microsoft Dynamics. In the Treasury Automation Suite, we have what we call the Payment Factory Automation setup, which we will first use in this example to create a payment calendar. A payment calendar can automatically run payment proposals in your company. So, when you come to work in the morning, the payment proposals have already been created for you automatically in D365. The module can also automatically figure out which bank account to make the payments from when paying an invoice. So, if you have vendors to be paid in different currencies, and you also have internal bank accounts holding different currencies, the solution will automatically select the correct bank account to be used and will also send the payment file to the correct bank based on the currency, the method of payment used, and the bank's country. All of that is automated for you with the Payment Factory Automation module. The payment calendar can be set up to run for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. The duration is up to you and can always be changed. You can then create rules and filters for your payment proposals to be generated. So if, for example, you want to run all your payments in Denmark on Tuesdays, and on Wednesdays you want to make SEPA payments, then you simply set that up. And on Wednesdays you want to make SEPA payments, then you simply set that up. You can basically set it to do exactly what you would like to happen for your payment runs any given day of the week automatically. Let's start with the payment calendar. Here you see that we already have some transactions. I will go ahead and delete these. Up here we click Calendar Generator. Now let's try and set up a new payment calendar. First, you can select which company you would like to be paying from. You can handle centralized payments if you are using them in your company. Or you can configure it per legal entity. This is up to you. Select the journal you would like to use. Select the days you would like the calendar to run from. In this example, we will select today and the month. But we could also have chosen the rest of the year. Select which days you want to run your payments on. In this example, we would like to run payments on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Click Select. You then give it a description and pay group name. The pay group is used in the journal. Notice that if you have a pay group and you create one more calendar entry on the same day and give it the same pay group name, it will add a line to that payment journal unless you have blocked it. You then put in from and to dates, like in a standard D365 payment proposal. If we put in data here, we should put in a number and not a date, because if I put 1 in here, it will take the entry we make and calculate the date. So it will be the 8th of February in this case. So it would include transactions for the 8th for the entry which is running today. If you scroll down, you have the records to include. The rest from here on is like the standard payment proposal in D365. You can include your payment methods or whichever filter you would like to use. Here we have selected some methods of payments to include. You can of course also select the companies to run payments from. We then push OK. Now you see the calendar entry at the top, and now a batch job will run in the background to create the payments based on our setup. Within a couple of minutes, it should run the entry for today. You can see that it calculated the to date, which means it will include all invoices due for payment until tomorrow. In the meantime, while this is running, we will briefly show you the payment switchboard, which is used for figuring out which method of payment is used, then correct it to the correct bank format, and further, determine which bank account to use for executing the individual payment. Here you have method of payments that you just saw we filtered on. You have the currency of the transactions as well as a vendor country. If the field is blank, then it's considered what we call a wildcard. Here, you set which bank you want to pay from, based on the method of payment and the related bank format. The system will, based on this, automatically create the payment proposal, create the payment file which will eventually be going to the bank, and containing the correct details needed for execution by the bank. Now, let's go back to see if the batch job has been running and our new payments generated. As you can see in the overview, we no longer have an entry for the 7th of February. This means that it has created a new payment journal. If you then go to the payment journals, you can see that it created a new journal. You can see that we have a small tick mark here called Accept Payment Request. This means you can add lines to this by another payment proposal, which we call a payment request. So, if you are doing centralized payments and you would like to have payments approved in the individual legal entity, then the system will create a journal which the individual legal entity can now either approve or reject. This will send it back to the mother company if this Accept Payment Request is checked. If it is not, the system will create a new journal. Here we can see the payment group. If that is the same, it will add the line to a journal which has the Accept Payment Request marked and the same pay group. If we go to Lines, we can see the lines it has created, and we no longer have the same method of payment. It also figured out which bank account to pay from, and we are basically combining all of our banks and payments in one journal. This means we don't have to take into account which bank is used, which bank formats are used, which payment specifications are used, and how it's going to be paid. Everything is simply done from one journal automatically. If you look at the payment state, you see we have no errors. But if there was, for instance, a missing bank account number for a vendor or a missing address, then you would see an error status on the line. This would further give you an exception status, telling you that you need to correct certain information in the payment file before sending it. Otherwise, the bank will simply reject the payment instruction upon receiving it. If you click the exception list, you would be able to see the details of such errors and how you can correct the data. After the correction is done, you will validate the payment run again, and when you get a ready status, you can send the file off to the bank. In this example, we don't have any errors, as the status indicates ready. So we can go ahead and send this off to the bank. You have two options when it comes to sending the payment file to the bank. You can either use Send File Later, and for reference, if you are using a vendor disbursement approval workflow on the journal, it will always choose Send File Later by default. If that's not the case, then you can use Send File Now, which will immediately create the record in the Treasury Automation Suite and send off the file to the bank via direct connection to the bank. The connectivity to the bank will typically be via an SFTP, web services, or an API connection, depending on what your bank offers. In this example, we will choose Send File Later so that you can see the whole process. Now it's creating the record in the Treasury Automation Suite. If we go to the Treasury Automation Suite, we then navigate to Periodic, Accounts Payable, and Create and Send Now. Now you can see the system has 3 records for us. The reason why it has created 3 records is because the payments that we are sending will be going to 3 different banks. So, based on the journal, it has automatically figured out where to send these payments to, and has created the lines based on this information. In Select and View, you can see which journal it's attached to, and you can see which bank format it is using. You can look at the payment detail to see what transactions are included in the payment. Here, you can see in this example it's paying one invoice. Let's go back one step. Because we used the Send File Later function, the files have not yet been sent off to the bank. Again, had we used the Send File Now function, it would have sent the payment files immediately. But in this case, we will have to click on Begin Processing. This will prompt the system to now send the file to the bank, and you will notice the outbound file status changing to Transmitted. Let's now begin processing the 3 files at the top. In this example, the system is configured to not be receiving return files from the bank, simply because we are using a demo environment, which is not connected to an actual bank. But in a live system, you would want to receive return files from your bank, also called acknowledgement files, PSR files, or Pane 002 files. This return file is the bank's acknowledgement that the payment file has been received and is being processed. Receiving such a return file will complete the automated process fully. When you receive a return file from the bank, the status in the system will update itself to either approved or rejected. When all lines have been approved or rejected by the bank, we complete the process, and it can automatically post a payment journal. If it is configured, then the system can also automatically send a payment advice via email to your vendors, specifying which invoices you are paying for. If you would like to see what this payment advice looks like, please see our demonstration of the Vendor Payment Automation module. In some rare cases, it can happen that you receive the funds back into your bank account a few days after you have processed the vendor payment. This can, for instance, happen if the vendor's bank account doesn't exist any longer, and therefore the bank deposited the funds back to your own bank account. If that happens, you then have the possibility to click the File Details and inspect the payment file you sent originally. In here, you have a couple of options. You can choose Resend Vendor Email, Print Remit, or you can click Reverse Posted Payment. The last option allows you to easily reverse one or multiple lines simply by selecting these and clicking Reverse Posted Payment. When doing so, the system will post on the bank account, on the vendor, unsettle the original settled invoices, and settle against the original payment. This will leave the relevant invoices open again, and you can then correct the payment details as needed. When you are ready to process the corrected payment again, it will post against the original invoice. This one-button reversing of posted payment is a nice feature, as you would otherwise have to manually perform all the postings to reverse a single transaction. Here, it's done with a click of a button. This concludes the demonstration of the Payment Factory Automation module. Thank you for watching the demo. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us via www.skg-services.eu or call us directly at +45 22 88 0000.